Alright, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, or Biohazard 7 Resident Evil's finally coming to the Nintendo Switch. Except the fact that it's really not, because this version of Resident Evil 7 is going to cost $20 to stream online for a set amount of time. And Capcom's got a lot of nerve trying to poke the Nintendo Switch with this cloud bullshit. My name's Cameron, and I'm about to light Capcom's ass up. To fully explain why Capcom's pushed me over the edge, let's start from the beginning. First, they released a physical copy of the Resident Evil Revelations collection on the Nintendo Switch, but the fact that the second game wasn't even included physically really grinded my shit, seeing as how that defeats the whole purpose of a physical release. However, at the time, every third party was hesitant with the Switch, and a game cartridge big enough to hold Revelations 2 even by itself would have been a costly risk for Capcom. So initially, I just let that one slide. Then the Mega Man Legacy collection was announced for the Switch, and initially I was really excited, only to be disappointed when I immediately found out that the second game wasn't going to be included despite being a bundle, which caused me to fire shots at Capcom, seeing as how both anniversary collections could have easily fit onto one cartridge no problem. But despite the fact that these two games could have easily fit onto one cartridge, Capcom wanted to save money by making us waste internal memory instead. And since I fired those shots, I found out that apparently having two separate games or executables on one Switch cartridge is impossible. But even if that's true, how long can it possibly take for Capcom to combine the two menus into one game and use a standard 8GB cartridge? Instead of doing that, though, Capcom used the cheapest cartridges possible for the first collection, of course, since it was under 300 megabytes. And the key here is that releasing a physical copy of a game that only has half the content advertised in the title defeats the whole purpose. Platinum Games advertises Bayonetta 1 and 2 as a bundle online, and it's bullshit that the first game's only digital, but the actual box art portrays Bayonetta 2 as being what you're buying, with the first game being a digital download. It's borderline scammy, but not quite in Capcom's territory since the actual box art's primarily dedicated to the second game. Besides, at least they put the larger and more important game on the cartridge as opposed to the smaller and cheaper Legacy Collection 1. And to make matters worse, like a month later, Capcom released the Mega Man X Legacy Collections at the same time for some reason. The PS4 and Xbox One versions were done fine and dandy like Jonathan Candy, but the Switch version got shit on once again by having a physical bundle with only half the content that's in the title actually being physical. Japan has physical copies of both games separately, but the rest of the world only gets the first game physically with a digital download code for the second. But my issue isn't with the second collection only being available digitally, it's with the second collection being sold digitally as a physical copy. And all the people who somehow have no idea why this is bullshit. Imagine buying Seasons 1 and 2 of Dog the Bounty Hunter on DVD, but the second season's actually just a digital download code that you can only use one time on one DVD player. That shit would not fly in that industry because people wouldn't accept it. So why should we accept that for video games? Well, companies keep bullshitting us more and more to see what they could get away with. And now we're at a new poop milestone with the Resident Evil 7 Cloud Edition, which costs 2,000 yen in Japan, which is probably going to be $20 in the US, to rent for 180 days. And to be fair, it comes with all the DLC, but also requires the internet to play, which defeats the entire purpose of the Switch being portable. I mean, you can still play it on the tablet while you're on the turlet at least, but you're not going to be able to play it while you're at the dentist or driving your dad to Little League practice, so what's the point? You might as well buy and permanently own a physical copy of the game on the PS4 and Xbox One for, you guessed it, $20. I don't mind Capcom trying new things, it's just that this is a ripoff. If they did a streaming service with multiple games, I couldn't knock that. But charging $20 for people to rent a game that's better on other consoles that won't take you more than 180 days to complete just blows my mind that Capcom would even try that. And it's not like the game's too big to fit on a Switch cartridge or anything, but even if they don't feel like paying for the most expensive 32GB Switch cartridge, then there wouldn't have been anything wrong with releasing it exclusively as a digital download. Because even though people misunderstand me, while I don't prefer digital games, I don't have anything against them either. There's nothing wrong with a game like Okami only being available digitally if that's how Capcom chooses to release it. My issue's always been with physical copies that require significant digital downloads to be playable, but I don't think this cloud solution's really much better. I mean, if it was an option for a brand new game, then maybe, but it's like Capcom just saw that Nintendo was gonna have a streaming service for their classic games, and thought it'd be a good idea to stream a singular year-old game. I don't really think this is so much a scam as it is a bad idea, but the fact that Capcom seems to think it's a fair deal really grosses me out. You can rent movies and stream them on iTunes and for some reason YouTube, but you generally only pay about $6 for a brand new movie as opposed to $20 for one that's been out for over a year. And yeah, that is for a mere 30 days as opposed to 180. But Resident Evil 7, which was a great game by the way, only takes about 3 or 4 days to complete if you're playing it relatively casually on the PS4. And it only took me about 5 hours to beat when I replayed it to get the better ending. And yeah, that's right, I saved Zoe instead of Mia, frig off. I used video game logic thinking that choosing whatever appears to be the bad option would lead to a reward later on. But anyway, I know people are just gonna blame the Switch, saying that if it were more powerful that it could just get a competent release. In fact, before the Switch even came out, there were rumors that Capcom made Nintendo increase the Switch's RAM specifically so it could run Resident Evil 7, at least according to my neighbor Terry. But trying to pretend that Switch versions of games have to suck this bad is bullshit. Just look at what those fine boys over at id Software were able to do with the Switch version of Doom. That game's about 40 gigabytes on the PS4, and id managed to get it down to 13 on the Switch. And it's even smaller than that without multiplayer, which requires the internet anyway. So I don't believe for a second that Capcom can't get a decent version of Resident Evil 7 to run on the Switch. They just don't want to admit that they don't feel like putting the effort into doing so, cause lately they've been looking to cut as many corners wherever possible. You know, cause they're dicks and stuff. But if Capcom really can't make a good version on the Switch, then they shouldn't make one at all. If you're porting games over from more powerful consoles, then Switch games should just be looked at as the portable version, much like PS4 games are treated on the Vita. But again, being forced to play from a cloud with an internet connection defeats the whole purpose of portability. And as if that wasn't shitty enough, your save files to the game are stored online in the cloud as well, meaning that once your access to the cloud game expires, then your save files are deleted forever. And look, it's just that companies like EA and Capcom want to cut as many corners as possible, and Nintendo doesn't have any choice but to allow it since they're deathly afraid of losing third-party support. But I suppose if people pay for the cloud version of Resident Evil 7, then it's no problem. I mean, I can't understand why you'd rent a year-old game on a cloud for $20, but if you're down, then go for it, I guess. Because I know if we don't like this, then all we have to do is not rent it. But the idea that Capcom's trying to cross our boundaries to see how much they can get away with really leaves a bad taste in my mouth. It's a slippery slope, and the idea of pushing people's boundaries is to piss them off and then back it up a little bit, but still be further along the line of being a dick than you were to begin with. It starts off with a few extra costumes for $1, and then before you know it, you're paying for extra save files. It'd be like trying to cut someone's arm off, only for them to get pissed off at you, and then you say, fine, I'll just cut your hand off, and that person somehow being okay with it when they really shouldn't put up with any of your bullshit in the first place. So I hope nobody gives Capcom any money to play this year-old game with a required internet connection. Otherwise, how are they ever gonna learn? And if Capcom actually finds success with cloud gaming, then other companies are sure to follow suit. And I think that'd be really sad for all of us. And I really wish people would start caring as much as I do about massive Day 1 downloads defeating the purpose of physical copies, instead of just assuming physicals are obsolete due to the lack of effort by developers to have finished games on discs and cartridges without any additional downloads required like they always have been in the past. People need to stop being grateful that they have most of their arms and try to get their hands back is all I'm saying. What do you think though? Do you think Capcom's pushing it with the Switch, or do you not really care? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and as always, I'll pin whatever I find most entertaining. Don't forget to subscribe if you're a super mega sexy badass. Like and share this video to help this channel grow, and if you really want to go above and beyond, then consider supporting us on Patreon for as low as $1 a month. My name's Cameron, and I'll see you next time.
So I want to say thank you to your loyalty, thank you for your support.